So let's just zoom in on that mid-cycle pullback from 2013 and our current cycle. So what we can see is once we did get that bounce from the 1.272 level, we can see we came up to the 1.545 level and got a throwback to the 1.414 level. And in the current cycle, we did a very similar thing at that 1.545 level. We got a throwback to the 1.414 level. This isn't exact, but we did throw back to a similar level here. And then we got this strong bounce recovery. This one was quicker, this recovery, but we see we came to the 1.545 level and we pushed all the way up and didn't get resistance to the 1.687 level. And again, that's not a fib number, it's just to show where the top was and to use it as a guide on this current push. So perhaps we could see a similar thing where we don't get a decent pullback until we get to the 1.687 level, and that would be around 69,000. And we did get a decent throwback to 1.595 level, and if we were to put that level on this chart, that would be at around 58,300 approximately. So it would be something to watch here. Welcome Bitcoin friends, it's Bitcoin Mamo. Today we're going to look at the Bitcoin charts, we'll do some TA, we'll look at various time frames, and we'll also take a look at market Cipher. Just wanted to say thanks for all the great feedback from that previous video, where we did look at these fib extension levels in comparing the end of the 2013 bull run and our current bull run. And just looking at it at the moment, at the time, I did think we got quite close here on this run up to that 1.687 level. And we did get a throwback here to the 1.597 level. So I did think that we already had that pullback that we were looking for here, because we did pull back to a similar fib level. But it looks as though we did push higher and did touch that 1.687 level. And we did get another throwback here. And we can see we pretty much came to that 1.597 level. This is the BLX chart, so it is missing today's data, and we did push down today to a similar level down here. So perhaps we did touch this line on that pullback today when looking at the BLX chart. And it is quite interesting how similar these two charts are. I did have a few questions about what would be the next major pullback area. So I'm going to go into that now and show the rest of the end of the bull run here in keeping up with this comparison. So just looking at the next area here, this is 2013 on the left, and we were just talking about this pullback we just had here. We did recover and eventually made new all-time highs. Here we did have quite a bullish run then without getting a pullback till we came to this 1.895 level. And we got a throwback to the 1.792 level. So if we were to do a similar thing on this bull run, then that would take us all the way up here to about 101,000, and we would get a throwback to 83,500 approximately. And these aren't actual fib numbers, but we've just added them in to compare with the 2013 bull run. And going on further here, after that pullback from this 1.895 level to the 1.792 level, which is 100k down to 83k, we continued the bull run and we came to this 2.2 level and got a big throwback to the 1.985 level. And if we were to do a similar thing, that would take us to 176,000 and a massive throwback back down to 119,000 approximately. And then the last level that we did go to here was slightly above the 2.272 level, which is a actual fib level. And in our current cycle, that would put us at around 201,000. And we did go a little bit higher, so it could possibly be as high as 210, 220,000. But again, this is just a comparison and it doesn't have to play out the same. So far, it has been pretty similar. So we will look at this next target here. And once we can get back above to new all-time highs, above 69,000, we'll look to see if we do play out a similar move here. We'll have to see how it plays out. We don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. Do need to recover from this pullback first and get back above that 69,000 area. So onto the 2-week chart for Bitcoin now. We will open a new 2-week candle next week. Currently, this 2-week candle is a red candle. It's not looking too good. And we would have to close back above 63.4 for this to turn back into a green candle. But we do have this order block drawn in here. And these are supply and demand zones. This is also an order block here, this red candle. It indicates buyers and sellers here. And later on when we come to those price levels and act as support or resistance. So we are still above this order block. We did test it on the previous 2-week candle here and got a nice bounce. And we can see on this current 2-week candle, we did dip down into it. The top of this order block is approximately at 59,000. Looking at the VPVR, we do see a lot of support here where this order block is. And we did start wicking into this support here. And the biggest spikes here on the VPVR are between 58,400 and 54,000 approximately. Down to the weekly time frame now. I've got that 2-week order block here drawn in yellow. And we also have this weekly order block from this red candle in the uptrend. And it would be good if Bitcoin can close the week at least inside this order block or above it. The bottom of this order block is at 60,900 and the top is at 61,500. We do also see a little spike on the VPVR where that order block is. Looking at the stochastic RSI, we have had a tick down here, but we are still above the 80 level. The RSI has had a tick down here, and we are still trying to get above that 70 level. Down to the daily time frame now. This is just on the Bitcoin futures chart on CME. We have that same parallel channel drawn on the log scale. And just looking at this previous pullback here, we can see doing the fib retracement from this low to this high. We can see on this pullback, we did get some bounces here at the 382 level. And then we did get a dead cat bounce here, and we had one more leg down and pretty much came to that 0.5 fib level. So just doing the same thing with the fib retracement from this low to this high. We can see that 382 level, which is at 58,200 approximately. And whether we draw the fib from this low or the previous low, we have been getting support here on this 382 level. So we could do a similar thing and come all the way back to the 0.5 level here. But these don't have to be the same, and we will look down to the 4-hour time frame to give us more confidence that we aren't going to have another pullback further down, possibly to that 55,000 area. So back to the spot price chart for Bitcoin now. This is still on the daily. I have those same fib levels drawn, but we also have all these order blocks drawn in here. So that was just to show those fib levels a bit more clearly. This yellow block here is that 2-week order block. And just zooming in a bit further now so we can look at these order blocks. You can see we did go through this order block here, which came from this red candle in this uptrend. It would have been nice if Bitcoin could have closed the day inside this order block, but this will be a key level to get back above the top of this order blocks at 61.7 approximately, and the bottom is at 60,900. We also have 2 thinner order blocks drawn here, and a lot of order blocks further down in line with that 2-week order block. And these order blocks are taken from around our peak here back in April. We have this red candle in the uptrend for this order block, this green candle in this downtrend, and this green candle here in this downtrend. And these 2 thin order blocks just come from this red candle in the uptrend and this red candle here in the uptrend. So we can see we are above this thinner order block here at the moment. We have closed the bodies of the candles above that order block. We did wick down to this one further down, but I'll just be watching these order blocks to act as support and resistance and play these levels. And that weekly order block that we looked at is pretty much in the same area as this daily order block here. Looking at the VPVR now. Over our price movements from October and November, we do see the most amount of volume was traded at 61,224, and we are currently below this level. So this would be a key area to get above, and we see it lines up with this order block also. We do have support with the daily EMA ribbon, and we did pretty much wick to the bottom of this ribbon, but so far it is acting as support. And looking at the stochastic RSI on the daily, can see it pretty much has completely cooled off. We are down at a 2 reading. The RSI has been trending down here. We have gotten down to a 44 reading. We do have some possible hidden bullish divergence here. You can see we're making lower lows on the RSI and higher lows on the price action. But to be able to confirm that, we do need quite a strong bounce. We would need to engulf this candle. But I am expecting a bit of a bounce here, even if we are going to go down further. I will look at some key levels for that bounce to get back above on the 4-hour chart. So down to the 4-hour chart now. This is that parallel channel drawn on the log scale, but we're going to look at this on the regular scale when doing this more shorter term analysis. And this will throw off this channel as it was drawn on the log scale. So just ignore these lines while we look at it on the regular scale. So what are we seeing here? This was our peak at 69k. We had that big drop down to 62.8. We did spend quite a while going sideways here, and then we did have another drop down to that 58.5 level. What we can see, doing a fib retracement from this high to this low, we got that bounce and we did pretty much come to this golden pocket area. We did get a rejection and we had this further drop down. Doing the fib retracement from this high to our current low, you can see that golden pocket area is at around 63,400, and also the 0.5 fib level is at 62.4. So quite often on a bounce, these are the key fib levels to look for possible resistance. Another key thing to look for as a possible resistance level is the 4-hour EMA ribbon. Quite often when we break this ribbon on a big drop, on the first test back up, we will get rejected by this ribbon and have another push down, possibly make a higher low, look for some bullish divergence before testing that ribbon again and trying to break above the ribbon. So currently the bottom of this ribbon's at 61.7, but it does spread out all the way to 63,000. So we could possibly see a push back up here over the next few 4-hour candles and come to this 0.5 level at 62.4, and the top of this ribbon may come in line with that, and we could possibly get a rejection there and play out this range for a bit longer. We also may be forming this descending broadening wedge pattern here. We have 2 touches on the top and 2 touches on the bottom. This is a bullish pattern, and normally we do break on the 3rd touch on one of the sides. On the previous pullback here, we made a falling wedge pattern, which is also a bullish pattern. You can see 2 touches on the top, 2 on the bottom, and on the 3rd touch we did break above. We did come back for the retest, and then we did carry higher. And just to show you some examples on some other charts here, you can see we have that broadening descending wedge. 2 touches on the top, 2 on the bottom, and then we did come towards the upside here. And here's another example on the euro against the US dollar. You can see 2 touches on the top, 2 touches on the bottom, and then we had a pump to the upside, and quite often we break on that 3rd touch. And one more example here, we have 2 touches on the top, 2 touches on the bottom, and we can see we did trade sideways here. This is possibly a pullback from a 0.5 fib level. We had one more push down. There was possibly some bullish divergence here, and then we did climb higher, and on the 3rd touch we broke that top trend line and we started to push higher again. We could do a similar thing here. Have to see how Bitcoin responds to this EMA ribbon and these key fib levels. And just to compare that previous pullback here, where we had that run up from 30k to 52k, and then we had this big correction down to 40k, and we'll just look at the patterns that we made on that pullback. So we can see on this pullback we did make a falling wedge pattern here. These were a bit more dramatic, these pullbacks. Wasn't really a pattern here, we just had a quick drop and went sideways. We got rejected at that golden pocket area, had another drop down. 2 touches on the bottom, 2 on the top, and that third touch we broke to the upside. But we can see on this bounce we came up to that golden pocket area and also the top of the EMA ribbon on the 4-hour, and we did get rejected on that first go and also on this second attempt here, and on the third attempt we broke it and carried on higher. I do also have these trend lines here with these yellow dots, and just to look at that in a bit more detail, first trend line here is just connecting the tops here. This can be a guide to look for, as once we get above this level it can possibly indicate that this was the bottom. We can see we got above it, we did get a throwback, but we did hold this line and we kept going sideways and eventually traveled higher. This second trend line here in yellow just connects the overall top and the next top here, and we can see once we did get above that trend line, then that was a good area to give us confidence that we were going to push higher. So we do have the same thing drawn on our current pattern here. You can see we've just connected these 2 tops as this first trend line we're looking to break, and we can see we did get above this trend line, which is a good sign. And we also have this second trend line just connecting the overall top and the next top here, and this will be the next key trend line to get above. On this current 4-hour candle, the top of this trend line's at around 61,000, and on the next 4-hour candle the top of the trend line would be at around 60,600. So these will be the levels I'll be watching. This is quite often a good way to look for a trade after a big pullback. Wait for it to break this higher trend line and possibly even come back and test it as support, and then have the confidence that we are going to push higher. So we'll see how Bitcoin responds here on the 4-hour chart. We're watching that EMA ribbon and these fib levels also. We could come up here, get a rejection on the first go and come back down, still stay above this trend line and grind out this area for a bit, and then look for possible divergence on the 4-hour chart. So you can see on the stochastic RSI we have started ticking up here, which is a good sign for a bounce, and we do still have plenty of room to move to the upside. So I do think we are probably going to break this trend line and test these levels here and this EMA ribbon. Again, we could look for divergence if we do get another pullback at these areas between this low and the next low that we make. We could possibly make higher lows on the RSI, but slightly lower lows on the price action when looking at the bodies of the candles, and that would also be a good indication that we've possibly bottomed out. But looking at the RSI, we did get down to a 23 level, and quite often when we get below this 30 level on this dotted line, it can be an indication that we are going to see a bounce. As we can see on previous occasions here, when we were oversold, we did generally get a bounce on the RSI. Another thing we can look for to give us confidence that we are going to push higher here is drawing a trend line on the RSI, just connecting the tops. Quite often this can be a good early indicator that if we do break above this trend line, use it as support. It can give us an indication sometimes earlier that we are going to move to the upside before breaking some of these other key trend lines on the chart. So let's take a look at market cipher now. So that's telling us, we can see on this second pullback here, we did pull back on market cipher on the 4-hour. We have gotten this green dot on this candle, so we'd expect some upside here. The 6-hour has also got that green dot and it has been confirmed. You can see the 12-hour has come all the way down. We don't have a green dot yet. And we see the daily coming down here with this blue wave. And I think once we can see that green dot on the daily, it would give me a lot more confidence that we have completely bottomed and we are going to start pushing higher and break the top of that trend line we were talking about. While we wait for that daily green dot, we could possibly see on the 4 and the 6-hour a small bounce to that EMA ribbon and those fib levels, and possibly a pullback and then a secondary bounce. And over that time period, it would give the daily enough time to come down here and eventually form that green dot. Looking at the weekly, we do have a red dot here, but it's not confirmed yet until next week's open. So we do have plenty of time before this red dot gets confirmed. We can look down at the lower term time frames as well and look at the overall money flow here. We do see the money flow in the red, but it does look like it's starting to curve back up. And the smaller term time frames and the money flow can be a good indicator once we do bottom out here and start curving back up and cross back into the green. Can give us an earlier indication that we are going to see that bounce. And this was on the 3-hour chart. And we could even go as low as the 30-minute chart here. We can see how this red money flow is starting to curve back to the upside. So I think that's about all. I'll be watching this 4-hour chart here and watching these key trend lines we talked about. The first trend line to break, as we said, is at around 60,900. And on the next 4-hour candle, which is the last one before the daily close, the top of this trend line is at around 60,650. I'll be watching to see if we can break this trend line and how we respond to this 4-hour EMA ribbon and these fib levels. The stochastic RSI looks like it has a few more ticks before coming to the upside. So I do think we are going to make a push to these areas around 62.4 to 63.4 area. But I am expecting a rejection on the first go and a push back down here to these areas. And then we can look for that bullish divergence and also give time for the daily on market Cipher to come all the way down and form that green dot. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed that analysis. I'm Bitcoin Mamo. I'll see you next time. Bye.